The false ending on the song that I knew got me.
Yeah, right. Like, that threw me off, but I've heard this song before.
Yeah.
That happens. That was really cool. That was not what I don't know what I expected. It wasn't that, though, but it was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's really cool. I like his sound a lot, the way that there's, the different sections that have kind of a different feel to them, because there's, the kind of, not really a break beat, but sort of that type of thing with, like, acoustic drums. And then, like the post-chorus, I guess you would call it, has like this really interesting like vibe switch.
It was cool, yeah, how it was like different pieces of the song. It wasn't all just the same thing the whole time. It took you on a journey, and very clean though. It was beautiful to listen to. Like every element fit the space that it was holding like perfectly, and everything, like you could hear everything, clearly.
Yeah,
playing
lot
its
clarity
part
in the mix. Yeah, for sure.
But that was awesome. I'll have to definitely look that guy up.
It's also, there's a really cool music video for this as well.
Okay.
So people watching this on YouTube will probably see that. But not to spoil too much, but like basically it like starts out and the video looks one way, and then when that like post-chorus thing comes in, the vibe in the video switches up too, which is really cool. It like almost changes like genres of like what it's doing, if that makes sense. And so like this guy, he's only released one other song, but like he just has such a creative vision for all of this artistic stuff, and I really like the different sounds that kind of like contrast each other.
Yeah, very creative. Like that was unlike anything I'd ever heard, but it was familiar at the same time. Which I think those are the best songs.
Yeah, you were saying like Muse and Tame Impala a little bit, and I think that both of those make sense. And yeah, it's really interesting. I don't really know how to describe a whole lot of it, but like I was talking about the bloopy arpeggios.
Yeah, well, that was my favorite part for sure. Maybe I'm biased, but it was like, it was like Muse and Tame Impala influenced, but its own thing as well. Which, I mean, every artist, is influenced by an artist that came before them.
Oh, for sure.
In some way, shape, or form.
I think it's really interesting. I've seen some discussions about this, people talking about instead of using genres when trying to promote their music, using the like for fans of idea. And I think that that's really cool. Yeah. But I also find it interesting because a lot of people mix that up with their influences. And your influences aren't necessarily who you sound like, which I think is really neat. I saw somebody talking about like, let other people choose who your for fans of artists should be, because it can be hard as an artist to look objectively at what your music sounds like.
Definitely.
Because like I've had people pull up all kinds of comparisons with the kind of music that I make, and none of them are ones that I would have thought of.
Okay, interesting. Yeah.
Because, I pull from a lot of like punk and metal, and people are like, oh yeah, this sounds kind of like this indie rock band. And I'm like, oh, interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I get that a lot too. But I mean, sometimes like certain songs I made like because of influence of my favorite artists. I'm like, I love the way that they do, this effect on this, or I love the way that bass sounds in the way that they made that song. I'd love to try to emulate that bass, but in a totally different way, or like a totally different track, but still using that same element, but like it's a totally different song, but
like a different context.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I always think that that's really cool when people take elements of things and then put them in a different context, because you kind of like, you get a different perspective on it, you know? I think that that's really cool.
I do that all the time. Honestly, I think of my project as kind of like a culmination of like all of my influences to like fuse together to create something new. Ultimately. No, yeah, I guess I could. So I guess the songs that I have aren't really necessarily in any particular order. They're all great, so I could just start with
whatever one you're feeling like.
Okay. So yeah, this one's gonna be a SoundCloud though.
Okay.
But it's a new act by my new friends. They're called Inner Vines, but it's a duo. It's two guys, and one of them has a new solo project, and it's called Ether's Creek.
Okay.
I had to preface it with the Inner Vines because they have a little bit more of like established presence, But yeah, Ether's Creek is one of the guys from them. It's his solo project, and it's so cool. It's basically like an album mixtape. So it's not like a bunch of single songs. It's everything, in a mix together. But the mix, it's called Leisure Enthusiast. And it's so cool, though. It's a journey of soundscapes, really. Like, he just went all out on this one to really just create a beautiful base of music. And it's definitely a lot of, like, jungle and ambient drum and bass influence and just like heavy sampling of all different kinds of genres of music. It's like a collage of music.
That's awesome.
If you will.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting. So I mean, yeah, we can just listen to like a snippet of it because it's like about a 30-minute mix, I think. So.
Yeah, 37 minutes.
Yeah, so you don't need to listen to the whole thing, but it's definitely...
We'll play a snippet of it, and then I'll make sure that in the description of the episode on both Spotify and YouTube that there's a link to the full thing if you like it and want to check it out.
Yeah, okay.